Welcome to episode 55 of Jacques Talk, my friend. I'm Jacques Taylor, joined by my boy Big Joe in the Big Rig. Hope you are prepared to be entertained and dazzled for the next hour or so as we break down the Cowboys, a few things going on in the sports world, and take a quick trip around the block. What up, Doc?
What's up? How y'all doing today?
Hey, who is y'all?
Everybody.
Oh, everybody out there in podcast land?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I should have thought about that. It's all good, man. It's all good. I'm not a guy who shaves very often. Like some of my friends got to shave every day. I really didn't even start shaving until probably college, man. Which is weird because my son he can grow a full beard if he felt like it. The only reason I'm bringing this up is, so I haven't shaved in probably 3 or 4 days. You guys probably can't even notice. But I got this one hair bump that's driving me nuts. And so I don't know how people who shave all the time, especially if you're black and you get ingrown hairs and you get hair bumps, I don't know how y'all deal with it because it literally drives me crazy. And this is just one little bump, and it's the most aggravating thing all day long. So I'm sorry I had to start with that, but just as we started the show, it started aggravating me. And so because we family, I felt like I had to tell y'all.
Yeah,
you got hair bumps, bro?
We had to know that.
Hey, man, you have to share with your people, dog.
Not everything.
Something, man, people care, man.
Not everything.
I mean, like I shared my problem with my flat tire the other day, and my man Hector sent me a low price generator, Hector Flores, a low price generator I could get from Home Depot for $39. So when you share these things, now somebody will offer me some shaving cream products that I can use to get rid of these hair bumps. So you never know, man.
Yeah, you never know. I know. I know, but you never know. All right, then.
Hey, it's all good, man. We share because we care.
That's 2 minutes and 43 seconds. I can't get back. All right, then.
You know what, man? That's uncalled for. You can always find me on Twitter at JJT Journalist. I am Jean-Jacques Taylor is the handle. I always like to tell y'all, if you're involved in a car accident or any type of negligence that's not your fault, the least you're getting hurt, what you need to do is pick up the phone and call 972-934-8900. It's the good folks at Grinning Law. And what you do is you pick up the phone, you call me, say, here's my situation. What do you think? And I'm telling you, if they bring you on as a client, it's been a great day for you. Real talk. Because they will walk you through. Especially if you haven't done it before, that thing can be intimidating. It can be scary. It can be tedious, time-consuming. All of those things. Well, Grinning Law walks you through the process. They tell you, hey, this is where we need to take a left right here. This is when we need to take a right. Here's when we need to slow down. Here's when we need to stay still. All of those things so that you can get through the process. If you need a doctor, they can find you one. If you need a specialist, they can find you one of those too. Why? They want you focused on 2 things and 2 things only. Healing and renewal. Get your mind right, get your body right, get your life back. That's really what they want you focused on. So they literally take care of every single solitary thing else. Now, but you got to understand, when you pick up the phone, you make that call, 972-934-8900, don't cost you nothing. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. They don't get paid unless you get paid. Do you hear that? They don't get paid unless you get paid. Sound like a win-win to me. So, focus on healing, focus on renewal, focus on getting your mind right, your body right, getting your life back. Let Grinning Law take care of everything else. Now, I like to tell y'all, real talk, you ain't got to take my word for nothing, all right? You can go to greeninglaw.com, check out the website, see the good work that Robert Greening is doing in the community, see what his clients have to say about him, see the awards that they've won. The list is long, all right? And then decide for yourself, I want somebody representing me. I might just need to pick up that phone, 972-934-8900, dial the number, and let Grinning Law go to work for me. Big news in the sports world, dog. Huge news. And this is the way the world works these days, man. I was driving home from the Star yesterday, having been in the Cowboys locker room and done the Media Mash podcast, which you can find every Wednesday and Thursday on Dallas Cowboys radio. And I hadn't gotten on the highway yet because I take the tollway home. So I'm at that light at 121 right before you get on the tollway. I'm checking Twitter. Nick Saban retires. I'm like, whoa. Then I get up this morning. I'm at the gym. Bill Belichick out. Whoa. And I'm just like, well, damn, that's a double dose. Two of the greatest coaches ever, one in college, one in the NFL. Both, I believe, 71, both out the game, gone. And it's a really interesting thing to me. I think what was your reaction when you heard Nick Saban was gone?
I thought NIL, collective transfer portal.
Bruh, I thought the same thing. I thought Nick is probably sitting at the crib talking to Miss Terry like, I got, 6 national championships, all these games, won all these games. Now I got to put up with this where you don't just have to recruit a kid 2 or 3 years but get him on campus. Now you basically got to recruit him every day that he's on campus. And now somebody come in my office, hey, Coach Saban, Billy Bob is making $200,000 a year and I'm making $150,000, but I'm starting these last 3 games and he not. Can I get a raise up to $250,000 so I'm making more than him? And you got agents call. I think you're right, man. I think Nick was just like, you know what? I don't need this in my life right now. And I think he bounced. And we're going to get back to Nick Saban in a minute. What'd you think of it when you heard Belichick had I guess him and Kraft decided to mutually part ways?
I'm surprised they didn't trade him. I'm surprised they didn't work out. If he still want to coach, I'm surprised they didn't try to trade him somewhere or get him a place to land. I don't know. Sometimes the league get away from you. Remember Joe Gibbs left and came back?
Right.
I think you got to stay in the game to stay up with the game. So if Belichick gonna have any inkling of coaching in the future, I think he better get a job now because it don't always work when you leave and come back.
It's incredibly hard to get back when you leave and come back. Now, you said something interesting. Do you think the game has passed Bill Belichick by?
No, but personnel means a lot. What they say, the most important relationship to the NFL coach is between the quarterback and the coach. When you don't have a quarterback, when you don't have something to base it on, I think the personnel part has passed him by. I think
I buy that.
He need a GM, that he can work with. We always talked about that with when you covered Parcells, he didn't have a GM. And he had all them what if guys, like what if he gets mean? What if he understands? What if they flip the switch? Well, you need to have that detachment from the GM right. Where you go, hey, go get me a defensive tackle. Oh, he sucked. Go get me another one.
Right.
Right.
That's actually the beauty of Will McClay. I mean, he's vice president of player personnel or whatever, but he's really the de facto GM. And what he does best is that he says, hey, Joe, what type of defensive lineman you want? And you tell him I want them 6'4", between, 295 and 310 if they're 3 technique, 330 or more if they're nose tackle, blah, 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 blah. I want them to have this kind of long arms. I want them to play with this kind of motor. And he put all that down, and then that's what he bring you. And then from that group of guys that he bring you, then you can pick the ones that you like. But what he's not going to do is say, hey, Coach, I know you said this, but this guy over here, I think you like it. Now, he really brings the groceries that you like, and then he lets you pick from those groceries in terms of, who you want on the roster and all of that. And so I think the hard part, man, and we're going to get back to Saban in a minute, is if you hire Bill Belichick, you put him with a GM, it's got to be a GM that he can't run over so that he's really the de facto GM. That makes sense to you?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Like, you got to have somebody who can say, Bill, I love you, dog, but you full of poop. Come on, man. You got to have that kind of relationship with him. You can't have a GM, even if he knows him, who says, okay, Bill, we'll go your way this way. It's got to be somebody who he respects, somebody who'll bite back at him, and somebody who can help put a roster together. Because when I look at the Patriots, and I was looking at their scores, like, I don't have any doubt that he can still be a hell of a defensive coach, because the Patriots defense for the most part played pretty good this year, especially when you consider their offense gave them nothing. But it's but it's a team. It's not just the defense. Your whole team got to work. And he destroyed Mac Jones with the moves he made last year. Mac Jones was he was just awful this year. And I put a lot of that blame on Belichick. So wherever he goes, and I think he'll go somewhere. And I think they didn't trade him. This is just my opinion. Is because he had done so much for the organization. They were just like, you know what, duh. Hey, if we can't reach an agreement, hey, go find a spot you want to go to. We're not gonna put no conditions on it. You've done enough for the organization. We'll pay you back by letting you go and pick your own landing spot. Now, as we move back to Alabama, who do you want? Do you want the Nick Saban job? You want Alabama job?
Nah, I don't want it, because you following a legend. And it's a lot of expectations over there. Every time somebody follows a legend, it's kind of hard to do. Let me jump back to Parcells. I mean, not Parcells, but Belichick, just for a second. When has GM / coach ever worked in the NFL? They always want it. They always want both jobs.
Yeah, they always want the power so that they can make the ultimate decision. Yeah. So that if I win or lose, it's on me.
It don't all. I can't think of a time where it really worked. I remember Jimmy told David Wanstead, "Hey, if you get the Bears job, make sure you the GM and the coach." And that didn't work out at all for Wanstead. And I just don't. I can't. As much as I've studied NFL, I can't think of a time where the coach being the GM ever worked.
It may have worked some in the past, but the job is
where
I don't know, because I hadn't really thought about it.
I can't think of none. You got to have separation from, that's what the thing with Parcells. Like I said, he was always, hey, this guy's gonna be good if I could just get him to play like this. He was so fatherly with them players that he had a lot of guys on the roster that was just kind of if guys. Like you was there. Was a couple of defensive linemen where you go, hey, if we can flip the switch and make that dude get angry, he can play for us. Well, you can't have too many of them guys.
Right. Or otherwise you end up with a team of those guys.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I can't remember if Andy Reid had it at the end in Philadelphia, because sometimes what happens is you get it with your second contract.
Yeah.
You don't get it with your first one.
Chip Kelly didn't work out, did he?
No, but I wouldn't have gave it to Chip Kelly. I mean, sometimes you have to give it because you want the guy, and the guy got leverage.
Yeah.
But like Chip Kelly new to the league, like you didn't need that responsibility. My only point was the game has changed so much in terms of free agency and practice squads and roster. I mean, it's impossible really to do that job and be the head coach and do it well. You don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Which is why which is why you need a GM that you trust, and so it's a very interesting dilemma. It'd be interesting to see where Belichick goes. 71. I don't think that's old in today's world, but you're still 71. So what's your energy level like? How do you relate to young guys in their 20s? Can you get them to play for you? Are you telling stories about Marion Motley and Jim Brown, and they looking at you like, who the hell are they? You know what I mean? And that's real. So you have to figure out how to relate to younger players. And I think he'll coach next year. I just don't know where, because I think he's not for everybody. And so you got to, because when Bill come, what is he doing, dog? He bringing the Patriot way with him, which is that whole shut the building down. Anybody we think is leaking, they going off to Siberia. And so you have to accept that when you bring him. And every ownership group doesn't want to deal with that. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I will say this before we move back to Alabama for a minute, before we bring on Clarence Hill Jr., is that the two names associated with that job. And I wondered if they decided yesterday to make that move because Mike Vrabel just got fired and he seems like the obvious fit for New England. Played there for a long time. Would keep a lot of the standards and stuff that New England had in place would stay with him because it would be what he's used to and what he knows with his own flair to it. And Gerard Mayo, former linebacker who's on the staff now, is getting a lot of link to the job.
Yeah.
And my only point would be, if it were me and I were Bob Kraft, and you know that you're taking a quarterback with your first-round pick, I would not put a first-time head coach, Gerard Mayo, with a rookie quarterback who's taken with the third or fourth pick in the draft, because to me that doesn't give your quarterback the best opportunity for success. Because I would say it'd be similar to Chicago in terms of you hired a first-time defensive coach, and I just think with the game leaning so much for offense, and you drafting a quarterback to help turn your program around, you need an offensive mind running the show and running things.
Mike Vrabel stuff is interesting because you go back to the GM. Rand Carthon is the GM over there,
right?
And the funny thing about it was, I remember when A.J. Brown got traded to the Eagles. Mike didn't want that. Mike wanted to pay A.J. Brown.
Yep.
And remember draft day when they go, A.J. Brown is traded to the Eagles. Mike Vrabel hit the wall. He got up. Man, he was going crazy. Like, what y'all doing? So that's the whole thing, the whole disconnect. And Rand Carthon wasn't the GM then.
No.
But I'm saying that, he was like, what are y'all doing? That's the best player we got. Pay him his money.
Right.
They tried to replace him with DeAndre Hopkins. And it didn't work out, Nah.
Because the thing was, A.J. Brown with Derrick Henry, we good. However you want to stop us, we can attack you with an elite player the other way. And so, the Tennessee ain't really been the same since then.
Yep.
And then real quickly about Alabama, the names associated with that job have been Steve Sarkisian from Texas, Dan Lenning from Oregon, and who's the other cat whose name I heard? It wasn't Dabo. It was somebody else. I'm going to see if I can look it up right quick.
Man, Steve don't need to leave. Man, he can make his own legacy at Texas, man. But it's
interesting. Now, and I was being the devil's advocate, which is a phrase I don't really like. Somebody was like, hey, he would be stupid to go to Alabama. Texas got more money. Texas, the expectations there are so high. And then they got Archie Manning. And I was like, all of that could be true. But let's not act like Alabama couldn't pay as much as it wanted to pay to get him. Money is not going to be the difference between whether he stayed at Texas or took an Alabama job. Number two, somebody going to take the job and follow the legend. If you want to bet on yourself, you can bet on yourself because Steve Sarkisian, I'm sure, considers himself one of the best coaches in America. And so he wouldn't be afraid to follow a legend because I'm sure he thinks I can, all the facilities, all this, all that, I could do at Texas. I mean, I could do at Alabama what I've gotten started at Texas.
What was the promise? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the third one is with Arch Manning, number one, there's no guarantee that Arch Manning is who everybody believes that he is because we ain't seen him play. Number two, Arch Manning can transfer. So he's not stuck at Texas if he wants to play for Sarkisian. And Alabama was one of the schools he continued up until the very end. So now I don't think Sarkisian's going, but I just don't think you can put everybody in the box and say, oh, it'd be stupid to leave. Because it's a great job with a whole lot of pressure and expectations. So what were you going to say?
The promise of Alabama was they could load up with talent because if you wait your turn, you're gonna be an NFL prospect. You could be a first rounder,
right?
And your boy had the ear of the NFL. It's funny that him and Belichick are out at the same time because they was buddies,
right.
And he would recommend a player, and Belichick would take him. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But my thing is, if you Alabama, the equalizer to all of this is the people keep talking about NIL, but it's really the transfer portal. that's the equalizer in the talent right there. When people can just get up and leave when they want to, and
right?
You see that through all college sports now: basketball, football, baseball. Not so much baseball, but the two major sports is basketball, football. You see a lot of teams, a lot of talent evening out. And I'm thinking, hey, if you gotta pull back, I don't know if it's the money that you pay the coach. I think it's the money that's available to the players that's going to make the difference. The first thing in NIL was A&M had one of the best classes in the world. Well, it didn't work out for them, but they had a world class. When NIL came, A&M opened them coffers and all the money came out, and Nick Saban was whining about that. Hey, we got to pay more money. That little $10,000 in the paper bag ain't working no more.
No.
We got to get money. And he was saying, hey, we need to get money to compete with these players, and a lot of that stuff didn't happen for him. So what I'm saying is Alabama football was based on the promise that we're going to get you to the league if you wait your turn. I mean, they had some loaded positions. I mean, you can go down through – we ain't got time, but you can list all the players that was on the team at the same time, all them receivers, all them running backs, all them linebackers. Guys go to Alabama and disappear. Now they ain't disappearing because they ain't waiting for their shot. They leaving.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know if the time of Nick Saban in Alabama might be done with all the rest of this stuff going on.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think they're still competitive, but I don't know that we're just it's just an interesting time, so we'll have to see. The story's not been written yet.
Very much so.
Let's give my man Clarence D. Hill Jr. a call and see what's up with those Dallas Cowboys.
Roger that.
Hello?
What's up, man?
What's happening?
Not much. This is Clarence E. Hill Jr. of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, brought to you each and every Friday by Smokey John's Barbecue. The E stands for what, dog?
It stands for every time he come on, it's going to be on. How about that?
I like that.
Hey, it's all good.
Hey, man, before we get started, we're not going to keep you too long today. I've been told you have commitments, so to be what do you call it? Not waste your time. Before we get started on the Cowboys and their coaching thing, what's your initial thoughts about Nick Saban and Bill Belichick being gone on the same day, basically?
Well, and Pete Carroll, and I guess we leave Pete Carroll out of the equation, but it's been a
now we're gonna get to Pete Carroll in a minute.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 24 hours. I think that Bill Belichick was expected. It's been talk has been out there all season. I don't know if Nick Saban was expected because he certainly didn't act that way during the season or immediately after the championship game. But when you're 71, 72 years old, that's certainly on the table. But, I mean, we're talking about two of the greatest, not just coaching figures of our time, but of all time. And Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, who could easily be called the greatest coaches of college and pro football, and without argument, and with a straight face. And sometimes we bestow those crowns, on recency bias, but this is not about recency bias. It's about what they've done and the numbers they've put up and in the titles they've won. It's a legitimate conversation for sure.
One last thing before we move on. A lot of people have linked Sarkisian to being one of the people who would at least get a phone call. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think he would get a phone call. I think that from a money standpoint, an opportunity standpoint, Texas is in good shape to keep him. But, I mean, I think there are other guys that are out there, the Oregon coach, the Washington coach, Dabo, the Florida State coach. They're all on the list. It's just a matter of who Alabama and Greg Byrne decides to go with. But certainly I think that Sark was a favorite son of Saban, and the guy that Saban had liked and was mentoring to maybe possibly one day take over. We'll see what Sark wants to do. I know just knowing his lifestyle, knowing his wife's lifestyle, they prefer to be in Austin.
All right. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. What's your take on the mood out there at the start this week as they prepare for their first playoff game?
I think it's confident. There's you know, I've talked to Dak, and I've talked to Mike, and there's an air of confidence, that we haven't seen before. They've certainly been in the playoffs before, but there's and some maybe in the past it was fake confidence, but there's an air of confidence. Certainly, you just look where Dak is just a different guy, and you don't really get not there all the time at his press conferences, and certainly with his off the record stuff. He's just a different guy. He's really confident. We talked to him a long time on Wednesday about the
Yesterday.
difference between. Um, between this year and last year, and difference between what he knows about the offense. He loves Kellen Moore, but the confidence he has in the offense, the receiving core, with some of the changes Matt McCarthy has made, and in his decision making, he throws when he's greedy, when he's confident. Uh, he just has a different air of confidence. Same thing with Mike. They have hope. They believe this year is different. They believe that the experience of the past years is going to take hold this year, and so I think there's a lot of confidence out there.
As we move to the game, how do you see the game matching up and what the Cowboys can try to exploit and what they got to stop Green Bay from doing?
Well, I mean, number one is stopping Green Bay's running game. I mean, Aaron Jones has killed the Cowboys. He's at 3 straight 100-yard games. He's killed, this season. He's killed the Cowboys rushing. We know the weak link of the Cowboys has been their run defense. They got better stop the run. Certainly, the return of Johnson Hankins helps. But first and foremost, they have to get a handle on this running game and then get after the quarterback, who has been playing well, but he is fumble prone, turnover prone if they can get to him. The way he holds the ball and everything else. But they have to stop the run, then to get after the quarterback, a rookie, not a rookie quarterback, but a young quarterback in his first playoff game. They got the edge there offensively. I mean, I don't just know what the Packers can do to stop CD Lamb and the Cowboys passing game. They just, I don't know what anybody can do. I mean, he's right now, Dak and CD unstoppable, and they just need to continue to do what they're doing in the passing game.
Well, let's do this. Jerry, after the win last week, said a bunch of glowing things about Mike McCarthy, and then the last thing he said was, well, we'll see how it goes game by game, essentially. And some people thought that was a big deal. Some people thought it wasn't a big deal. What's your take on what he said and where McCarthy's future stands?
I mean, let's be honest. We're not naive here. Let's put our big boy pants on here coming into the season. No, I mean, coming into the season, we all felt that this was a make-or-break year. The Cowboys need to get something done in the playoffs. We all felt that they would get to the playoffs. It was always, what they going to do in the playoffs? That's going to be the story that tells the Cowboys season and be the, whether it's a legacy of Dak Prescott or the future of Mike McCarthy will be determined by what they do in the playoffs, because they disappointed in the playoffs each of the last 2 years. Not necessarily losing to San Francisco, but how they've lost to San Francisco. Certainly, 2 years ago was at home, 11 o'clock run out. Last year, they just the meltdown in San Francisco, even though the defense played okay, and so it was always going to be decided what to do in the playoffs. And certainly, Mike has had a great year. The Cowboys have a great year, 12-5 again. But the goal was never to go to 12-5 and get the playoffs. The goal was to win in the playoffs, and that's how Mike will be judged. And Jerry said it. I mean, Jerry's not naive. Jerry's done this many times. First of all, Jerry's fired a 2-time Super Bowl champion coach. So don't tell me, oh, he's 12-5. Jerry's not gonna get rid of what Jerry. This Jerry. Are we forgetting the Jimmy Johnson thing? But yeah, it's Mike has had a great year. But Jerry is not naive. He was asked after the game about. There's a lot of reports out there about Mike's future. A lot of people linking Bill Belichick, Cowboys, and a lot of different things. Which they were predicting he would part ways. He certainly has parted ways with England since then. And Jerry said, I love Mike. This record speaks for. We'll see how it goes. And we'll see how it goes in the playoffs. We'll take it game by game was the answer to the question. Not that I love what he's done and all that other stuff. The answer to the question was, we'll see. We'll take each game as it goes. And Jerry didn't want to be paying the corner. He went back on his radio show and he didn't clarify. And he didn't clarify anything. He basically, again, talked about how the job Mike has done. But basically, and he said Mike is under contract for another year. But, that doesn't mean anything. that he's under contract doesn't mean you can't walk away from him. And the bottom line is this: we all know. And talking to Jerry and Mike, they won't discuss business after the season, but there's no way you're going into the final year of contract as a lame duck coach. A decision has to be made after the season, and how they do in the playoffs will determine and impact that decision.
Yeah, now you raised the interesting point that I always like to ask. How come he couldn't go into the next year with 1 year left on his deal?
Because you don't want to be a lame duck coach. You don't want those that specter hanging over your head every game after every loss. Going to the training camp, this is last year contract. It makes it a make or break year, even though technically every year is a make or break year.
Yeah.
The contract status makes it a make or break year, and you just don't want that specter hanging over your head as the coach. You want some security, with your players. You want the players to know that you're going to be here. That they need to trust what you say because you ain't going nowhere. That's just not the environment you want the coach to be working under.
I hear you. I told you we'd get to this in a minute. Dan Quinn with Pete Carroll. I guess the mutually parted ways is, essentially the Seahawks fired him because he wanted to be the job. He wanted to keep the job. But with Pete Carroll out in Seattle, it seems to me and everybody else like Dan Quinn's a perfect fit for them. One, you think that's true? And two, if he bounces, who do you see being the defensive coordinator?
Well, number one, there's little doubt that Dan Quinn more likely to bounce after this year, right? He's already been requested by the Chargers, the Commanders, the Panthers, and now the Titans on yesterday. And he's going to be one of the hot coaches on this coaching circuit, and that was before the Seahawks make the decision with Pete Carroll, and so it's just a natural fit. He was the architect of the Legion of Boom. He was the defense coordinator of the Super Bowl teams. If you're going to move away from Pete, you're going to have opportunity to bring someone who's worked with you guys, bring a prodigal son home as a way fit. Cam Turner, he's been choicy about the jobs that he would take. Necessarily pulled himself out of running of Arizona and some other jobs last year because they just weren't good fits for him. But that's an ideal spot for him. So I do see Dan Quinn finally moving on with his dad at one of the other spots this year. And in the replacement, a lot of people have been talking to Al Harris, but people have just been overlooking Joe Witt Jr., who's been the passing game coordinator, who's called the defense when Dan was out last year. He's the guy. He's actually a guy who has worked with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. He's not just a Dan guy. He's also a Mike McCarthy guy.
Right.
I would see that he would be the leader in the clubhouse, so to speak, if he doesn't go with Dan to be his defense coordinator. But I see one way or another, Joe Witt will be a defense coordinator if Dan moves on, whether it's with Dan or is that with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I didn't really see. I respect the job that Al Harris has done, but I didn't really see him as a defensive coordinator. In part because most of the time you want your coordinator to work front to back as opposed to back to front, so that he understands the run fits and defensive and run game and all that stuff and how it pairs to the secondary. In addition to the fact that Al, who's been terrific at what he does, I forget, he said something about the way he coaches that made me think he was a better position coach than a coordinator. But I think he's done a terrific job. But they got to get that right because just like offense, man, if you get a guy who's not really married to the scheme and what you do, you got to start swapping bodies out and players out, and that can retard your progress and retard your growth and set you back. And when you got a good team, I don't know that you want to take a step like that back.
No, you don't. And again, the first question you ask anybody, it becomes the defensive coordinator that you consider defensive coordinator. What you gonna do with Michael Parsons?
Right?
How you gonna handle Michael Parsons? We know what Dan has done, or what are you gonna do? What's your vision for Michael Parsons? It starts there.
No, it does, because and really, that's a really good point, because not only does it matter your vision, I think you can see Mike and go, you also got to get Mike on board with what you do, because he don't mind telling you when he upset, and his body language and everything can change when he ain't feeling right. And I don't think that's a negative or a positive, it's just what it is. And so you got to make sure that whoever you get is on board with him, and it's not that he's picking the guy, but that he can relate to what that guy is trying to do with him as they put the defense together.
No doubt. So that's huge. And again, it's funny that we have to talk about these things, and you're looking forward and look at these down the road and what could happen if obviously Dan Quinn left, and if if Michael Parsons, if they lost, and what they're going to do with Mike McCarthy. But are we underplaying the game ahead? It's a huge game. They're at home. What the Cowboys have done to get, and we talked about it last week to a certain extent, but what they've done, and I don't think any of us saw we thought the Eagles might lose. I don't think Eagles saw the Eagles collapse like they did. But for what the Cowboys have done to put themselves, after all the hand-wringing about having to play on the road, put themselves in position to have 2 road games before they get to the NFC Championship game. This is, to me, is their best opportunity to get to the Super Bowl since 1995.
Now, we talked about this yesterday. It's better than 2007?
Okay, let me say this.
Don't get caught up in Stephen A. stuff.
It's not. And no, it's not, because I think in 2007 they had the best record, the best team in the league all season in the NFC. And I guess I meant in the iteration of that, in the iteration of
in the last 8 years.
This is, and I would say this, maybe not the best. This may be I put it this way though. I would say the league is more wide open to win a title. Now, maybe not the best opportunity to get there, but the league is wide open to win a title this year, because I don't think anybody saw them beating the Patriots or if they got there. I mean, I think the Patriots are still the big kids on the block. There is no juggernaut out there. There's no, I think the Ravens are playing well and they're playing great. 49ers are playing great, but none of them have Super Bowls on their resume. Not right now. And they're not the big bad wolf as far as the reigning champs and who got this Super Bowl experience, and all that other stuff. So I think that the Super Bowl this year is wide open as it's been in a long time. Who's going to win a title? Kansas City is taking a step back. There's no Patriots, there's no Brady, there's nothing like that out there in front of them. So regardless of whether it's 2007, 2016, right now the Cowboys have a good opportunity to get there.
Yeah, they do, and we'll leave you with this. So who you got this weekend?
I mean, listen, the Cowboys are at home. They play well at home. They're dominant at home. Again, this is a good game, Packers team, but there's no A-Rod on this Packers team. There's going to be no 3rd and 30, okay? And all that stuff like that. I just think that, this is a young Packers team with a young quarterback here for the first time. All advantages are for the Cowboys. I think they take care of business at home.
All right, my friend, we appreciate you. That's Clarence E. Hill Jr. of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, Doc. And he is brought to you each and every Friday by Smokey John's Barbecue, 1820 West Mockingbird. And Smokey John's Barbecue is to live for. Now, we spend a lot of time talking about the Jam Session Bowl, as we should. Yes, someday soon, Big Joe and the Big Rig will sample the fine cuisine from Smokey John's Barbecue. This will happen. This is not just this is not just a stick, just something we talk about. But it's about finding the right day and the right time. Because he got a lot going on. I got a lot going on. He lives a helicopter ride away. So we just got to get the schedules right. But I'm thinking, man, because I'm in your part of town on Friday. But I know you got some things to do Friday. So we'll talk off air and see if there's a good time Friday to make it happen. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, are you talking about meeting at Smokey John's, or are you talking about bringing the bowl?
I'm talking about bringing the bowl, man.
Oh, well,
Hey. I mean, now, if you want to meet at Smokey John's, we could do that. But like I said, it's a helicopter ride away. And I'm going to be close to your part of town on Friday, so it may be easier for me to just roll through.
What's
like
close?
Without telling all my business, I'm going to be in Arlington.
Well, you talking about hair bumps and shit. You might well say you can be in Arlington. I don't know. I'm not telling all my business. The whole doggone fandom and the people that love us got to know about your hair bumps. They need to know you in Arlington, They might want to see the hair bump up close. I don't know.
Stop it, man. Stop it, man.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. I thought I was good during the last segment. I ain't say nothing.
I mean, you could have.
No, I'm just trying to be good.
But
be nice to the guests. Be nice to the guests.
Well,
that are in our house.
With Smokey John's barbecue, as we figure out whether Joe is available for Jam Session Bowl Friday delivery. The Jam Session Bowl, in case you've missed it or you're not sure what's up with it, it's delicious, man. It's love in your mouth. It's a bowl, and it's either got a mac and cheese base or it's got a mashed potato base. They're both spectacular, although I prefer the mashed potato base, I think. And then you get your choice out of 2 out of 5 smoked meats, all right? I go with the brisket and the sausage most of the time. And then all that stuff you find on a loaded baked potato, all that stuff. Sour cream and butter and chives, bacon bits, cheese, all that stuff. They put that on there. And then depending on what you like, they either drizzle it with some sauce or they drench it with the barbecue sauce, and it is to live for. Easily enough for 2 folks. If you got a little shorty, 3 of y'all can eat off of it, no problem. But it is fantastic. It's love in your mouth, man. It's great. I can't say enough good things about the Jam Session Bowl because it's been a minute since I had one. But if you need it a little more, if you need some Smokey John's in your life a little quicker than that, you can go on the website, you can click on the market, and right there, click on the market, you can order the sauce or you can order the rub. They got this new 12-ounce bottle of the rub. You can be at the crib in a couple of days. Or, check this out, you can go to H-E-B's. It's all over Dallas. It's in Burleson. It's in McKinney. It's in Frisco. You can get the rub there. Fantastic. So there's no reason not to have Smokey John's in your life. Go to the website, check it out and order it, or swing by the storefront, 1820 West Mockingbird. Get some samples, get some Smokey Joe's in your life. You can thank me later when you do that. Dude, let's take a quick trip around the block and talk about a feud. Are you familiar? Because this all kind of blew up yesterday. Are you familiar with the Jason Whitlock, Stephen A. Smith feud?
Yeah, I don't really dig either one of those guys, and I really can't stand Jason Whitlock.
Okay, this is a good point because you're not in the media. How come you don't dig either one of those guys?
A lot of times when Stephen A. talking about anything but basketball, he don't know what the hell he talking about. He generalizing and bloviating and yelling and He don't really know what he talking about when it comes to sports. And so many people think that he know what he talking about when it comes to football. Football, yeah. Basketball, it's kind of like him and Nick Wright start talking about football. I go, okay, whatever. They really don't know. They just talking. Jason Whitlock, he don't like black people, period. He don't.
Why do you say that?
He always got something negative to say. He always jumping somebody. I mean, look at the guys that he have on his panel. He got Warren Sapp and Marshall Faulk, 2 guys that have been kicked around and got bad reputations for things they did off air when they was on the air.
Right.
He got to go to that because ain't nobody got no respect for him. Plus, he talk trash about LeBron. He's always dogging somebody black. He's always doing that. And it's like, when he was saying LeBron couldn't suffer racism because he was a millionaire. Racism hit everybody. It do or it don't. It doesn't matter.
I used to be I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I liked his articles when he wrote for Kansas City. But the more he get on TV, the more, more of a jackass that he is. You just can't be racist. Racists come in all shapes and colors. There's not no such thing as reverse racism. Racism is racism. Right. You just can't. I ain't accepting that shit from nobody, black, white, or brown. You understand what I'm saying? So right. I ain't accepting it from him. I can't stand it. Don't get me started about that fool.
Jason Whitlock used to be one of my favorite columnists when he was young. Terrific writer, strong opinions, everything you want in the columnist. And then, much like Joe said, he slowly changed and shifted, and then he kind of became this pompous dude. And then, the takedowns of black folks and black reporters and all this other stuff. And then he kind of became a contrarian in a lot of ways. And I understand what he was doing because it happens to a lot of people. And I say this quite a bit, man. You can always say what you're not going to do, but you never really know until the moment of truth. So you could say, I could say, if somebody offered me 7 digits, I would never change. I'd be the same truth-telling columnist and reporter you guys have known for the last 28, 30 years. Or I could get the money, and y'all could look back 5 years later and say, what the hell happened to JJT? They're the biggest fool on TV, or the biggest fool in radio or podcast or whatever. Because you can never say what you won't do until the moment of truth. You think you won't change and all of this, and maybe you do or maybe you don't, but you just don't know until that moment arrives. And so for him, he changed. I like Stephen A, but Stephen A has changed. And Stephen A has really changed the game and created all these other lower levels, Stephen A wannabes, which is the louder you talk, the more you get paid.
Yeah. And
Stephen A figured out, and this is no shade at him, he figured out that, if I talk at a level 5, I make this much money. I wonder what would happen if I talked at a 6. Oh, they gave me a raise, and more people watched. I wonder what would happen if I talk at a 7. And they gave me another raise, and more people watched. I wonder if I skipped 8 and just went to 9. And so on and so forth, and now he make 8 digits a year. It's all good. But they're feuding because that's kind of like the backdrop. But they're feuding because Stephen A. wrote a memoir about a year ago, and the paper book edition has come out this week, I believe. And Jason went through the paperback edition and shredded it. And then he called Stephen A. various degrees of being, a puppet for the ESPN and Disney and mainstream media. And obviously Stephen A. did not take kindly to that and fired back on him and called him, amongst other things, he
called him a fat bastard.
I was trying to figure out if there was a delicate way to say it.
No delicate way.
And there wasn't.
He went off on his show, on his own podcast. He went off. I mean, he just going off. I mean, the only thing I don't like about Stephen A. is he kind of equivocated a little bit because he was talking about football, and then Tyreek Hill got on him. He goes, well, I don't know football like you know football. Yeah, but you've been talking like you know that stuff.
Right.
You've been talking like that. You've been acting like you the voice. When you talk about the Cowboys and talk about quarterbacks, he don't know what the hell he's talking about.
I haven't had a feud like that. I had a strong dislike for a reporter in the local market, and my dislike for him, and most of y'all know who I'm talking about.
I know who you talking about.
And the reason I'm not going to mention his name is for this reason, and this reason only. I ain't giving him no shine. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, everybody who knows me, and when I describe him, will know who I'm talking about. But I'm not going to give him any shine or any extra attention or make you go to his website or his Twitter and say, oh, let me see what he's talking about since Taylor said he's this or that. I ain't giving him nothing. But the reason I didn't like this guy and still don't like him is this. And I heard this with my own ears. So this is not like secondhand or third hand or somebody told me something or a rumor. Because he had at a certain point in his career, he had a daily radio show. And and here's what I'm getting at. I too have had a daily radio show on ESPN for about 4 years. And it was ranked I think we were number 11 when ESPN got out of the radio business. So it was a successful daily radio show. All right. Well, dog, I was covering the Cowboys at the time that he had his show, and his show was on somewhere around lunchtime, and so I would hear it driving to Valley Ranch back in the day. And the reason I grew to despise this guy is he would take my story, and I wasn't the only person he did this to, but he would take my story, read pieces of my story on his radio show, and then talk about why it was wrong, or why he disagreed with this or disagreed with that, or why this couldn't possibly be true. And I would just be like, dog, why are you using my content that I created to drive your radio show? Why don't you come up with your own content? Because that's what real 12-letter cuss words do. That's what I did. When I had a radio show, I didn't read other people's stories about the Cowboys and say, hey, David Moore wrote this and I disagree wholeheartedly because of A, B, and C. Nah, dog, you know what I did? I took my ass out to Valley Ranch and took my ass out to the Star and said, hey, this is what I found out. How do you think Whispers from the Star came about? Because I was out there doing my thing.
Might I add that David Moore is real cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him a couple of times.
And then who created some segment on a podcast or something called Whispers from the Star? Like, who does that? Besides Steve Harvey stealing jokes, that's what this fool did.
Yeah. Which you said the other day, 4 Plays is my favorite. It ain't. I like it, but it's second to Whispers from the Star.
Oh, and Whispers from the Star is good. And next year we'll have it a lot more consistently because Cowboys have changed their schedule a little bit, and it's hard to figure out how to get what I need to get to get it done.
Yeah.
But now I got a good idea how to do it, and so it'll be back full-fledged next year. But that's why this guy just pissed me off to no end.
Did you ever confront him?
No, because again, you've known me longer.
That must have been old Jacques. Because 225 6 times, 6 times popping 225, Jacques, fighting the usher at my mama's funeral, Jacques, would have went up in there and said, hey, man, what's your problem, dog? You need me to snatch a hole in your ass? What's going on? That's what you would have done. That's what this Jacques would have done, but it must have been old Jacques.
No, the problem is you got to always understand, and this is real talk for a moment, man. There are very few black men in my position at that particular time. Mm-hmm. And you know me, and you know my temper. Most of y'all don't know this because I come off as laid back. But I can go 0 to 60 in 2 or 3 seconds. A few people have seen it. Not many, but a few people have seen it. And I was always afraid that if I did that, I could escalate because at that point in my life, I didn't really control my emotions the way I control them now. And I might have swung and tried to swing on it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say it's always the ass that you don't kick.
Yeah.
Everybody talking about kicking somebody's ass. It's the times that you control yourself.
Now let me tell y'all something.
That make a difference.
This is real talk, man. This is real talk. And you can go back and look it up if you choose to. And this was the one that just set me off. I went and wrote a story about the Cowboys being sick and tired and fed up with Dez Bryant, and they created this set of rules that he had to follow for him to be on the team. And he got on and I wrote that was a front page story for the morning news, and he got on the air and said, "This is not true. This is wrong. This is false. These don't exist." And while he's saying that, what am I doing, dog? I'm looking at the list. Did you hear what I said, dog?
Of course I heard you say it. I'm not going to ever hear that decibel again.
I didn't say I called somebody and said, hey, I want to double check I got the list right. I said, I am looking at the fucking list. I'm sorry. I did a good job of not cussing for a couple of days. I'm looking at the list. While this fool is talking about the list don't exist. Now, that's the one day I almost did what you said. I'm talking about what I should have done. But why didn't I do that? Because if I talk too much about it, what do? I out my source on that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that because clearly only a very small handful of people had the list. And so it wouldn't have been hard for them to figure out at that particular time where it came from. But I was looking at the list because I had taken a picture of it and put it in my phone for future reference if I needed it.
Right.
And so when he up there talking about, well, this doesn't exist. These are made up. I can't tell you how close I came to giving him that. Like, instead of punching somebody, you just want to smack him because that's more humiliating. That's what I wanted to do, bitch slap him. But like I said, I was much better at managing my emotions at that particular time. So I took him to that room you talk about, and dog, I wore his ass out up there.
Really? You ain't got no living room, dog. Stop playing. You wish you had a living room. You ain't got no living room.
Nah, normally I don't have room, so I just normally do it. But anyway,
you normally just smack people.
Nah, I take them to my size room. It may not be as big as yours,
goodness.
but I work it out, man, so that I don't do what I want to do. That's what I'm saying. Because it's unproductive to do that in society. Those things get you in trouble. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, one of the reasons I stopped fighting people was 'cause I used to fight at the drop of a hat. Is because I got sent to ISS in the 8th grade, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. It's memorable. I can tell you blow by blow what happened that day. And I remember I came home. Matter of fact, we'll talk about that next week. I came home and I called my mom at work.
We are so far away from Stephen A. and Jason Whitlock. You know.
Well, I only told y'all about their feud, so I can tell you about my feud.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I called my mom and I said, "Hey, I'm not going back to ISS tomorrow, so do what you're gonna do, but I'm not going back." I said it just like that. And she came home and said, "Well, what are you talking about? You're not gonna go back? You going?" I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "They did this, and this." She said, "Oh, okay, I can see why you're not going back." She said, "All right, well, you're going to spend tomorrow raking all the leaves." Now, so for some of y'all, that might not be a big deal, but we had 13 pecan trees in my backyard growing up on Windchime Drive, and there was a backyard full of leaves. And so I spent about 3 or 4 hours raking leaves and putting them in the bag on the next day and doing some other stuff. But I had vowed not to go back to ISS. Did you ever go to ISS?
No, I went to ASS, as in Wonder K whooping your ass. That's what Wonder K whooping your ass. No sir, no sir. Whatever punishment they had for me at school,
right,
didn't match nothing I would get at home. My kids used to threaten. Parents used to threaten their kids with my mama. So, nah, I'm good. I'm Big Joe in the big rig, standing here proud and tall and loud and talking shit because I was raised that way. So it's all good.
Nah, I hear you, but that's really the only feud I've ever had with another media person. I had a feud with Roy Williams for a while. Obviously, me and Dez had a feud for a while. Me and Dez are fine now. As a matter of fact, I was probably the one dude who could really talk to Dez when he first got to the league because I had done some pieces on him. And I got to know him pretty well when he was at Oklahoma State. So we had a really good relationship. Then it went south for a minute. And then, to the best of my knowledge, it's good now. Same with Roy Williams. It was good. Then it went south for a minute. And then it went back. But let me just tell y'all something. Real talk. If you're a real beat reporter, a real one, which means you write the truth, and the truth can be good some games, some seasons. Truth can be bad some games, some seasons. But you write the truth because you talk to coaches, you talk to the front office, you talk to players, and what you write is the truth, not your truth, not the perceived truth, but the truth. Then at some point, somebody gonna be mad at you because sometimes they don't want to read about that because they're having a bad year or a bad season or a bad game. And you have to stand your ground if you're going to be real. And that's not always easy, but that's what you got to do. But players know the truth, even when they don't like it. So they can be mad as hell at you, but they can respect you at the same time. And when it blows over and cooler heads have prevailed, they can come back and your relationship can be fine because ultimately what you was writing was the truth.
Yeah, the beat writer and I seen you do both, the beat writer and the columnist. The beat writer is I'm reading that. That's more of me gathering information from you. Yeah. The columnist is more like, it's a good article, but I ain't agree with that. Right. See what I'm saying? It's just
because columnist is your opinion.
That's your opinion. Yeah.
But it should be it should be your opinion based off of conversations you've had.
Right.
Not just, I pulled this is what I think.
Yeah.
If I had an opinion about Dez Bryant back when I was writing columns like that, it's because I talked, real talk now. Back in those days, it's because I talked to Jerry, because I talked to Steven, because I talked to whoever was coaching receivers at that point, because I talked to, maybe who was being the quarterback at that point, Probably not so much Romo. But you just talk to a lot of people, and that helps shape your opinion. Then you come out and write your opinion. So it's an informed opinion. There are informed opinions and uninformed opinions, and all of them are valid. It's just that some are informed and some are uninformed, and you should know what the difference is between the two.
Yeah, I can tell. I've been around y'all long enough to know when, hey, this guy talked to somebody to form his opinion, or it just seemed like a personal attack from the reporter.
No, you're right, because a lot of times I would go up to, especially when I'm writing something, I just say, "Hey, let me give you my theory." I used to ask that question so much people used to start laughing. I said, "Here's my theory. Da 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 da. What you think?" And they would say, "Oh, you're in the right part, but here's really what the problem is, or here's really why this dude is having success." And then what I used to do is I would take that opinion that I heard from this person, and then I go over to somebody else and go, "Hey, let me tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this is happening because of A, B, and C." And if it matched what that first person told me, I'd be like, "Okay, that's probably what it is." Then I would go to another person. "Hey, let me tell you my thought. I think this is happening because of A, B, and C. What you think?" And when all three of them match, I'd be like, "Okay, this is all good. This is what the deal is. And then here's my opinion about it." But that's why being a columnist is about work. It's not about just sitting around saying, "This is what I think today." Your columnist has to be your best reporter, usually one of your best writers. And when you put the reporting with the writing with the opinion, that's when you end up with a really good columnist. Now, that's my speech on journalism today.
Well, the one thing I remember was, when we didn't know whether Parcells was coming. You remember how you found out? You talked to Pat Summerall and you said, "Hey, I heard they paying Bill, 4 years, $34 million." Pat said, No. It's really 5 years, this many million. And you said, "Oh, all right, thank you, Pat. See you later." That was how that was. I remember how you were saying how that came about. See, I remember everything.
I'm glad you did, and Pat, I'm sure at this point he don't mind being outed as a source.
Yeah. Yeah. But I thought.
But no, that's how the stories went down. Because people tell you without telling you when they don't know, and that's why information is valuable. I would have been a great poker player back in the day because I could bluff with the best of them. But that's a quick trip around the block. Let's move on real quick to this Cowboys-Packers game, man. How do you see the game going?
I think the Cowboys got to do what the formula that you always talk about is they got to get ahead of the Packers. They got to make the Packers one-dimensional because, like we talked about Jones, the running back, and A.J. Dillon, too. The Packers could pull that Cardinal stuff on them. I hate to speak on it, but they can be like, all right, we can't do nothing else but run, so that's all we're going to do is run.
Right.
The only way you get them out of that is if you get ahead. The offense got to start out on fire. We got to get ahead of them guys and make them not want to, be able to pound the ball.
Right.
So
the Packers ended up the season winning 6 of their last 8. They beat the Chargers 23-20. They beat Detroit 29-22. They beat Kansas City 27-19. Then they lost to the Giants 24-22. They lost to the Bucks 34-20. Finished up 33-30 over Carolina, 33-10 over the Vikings, 17-9 over the Bears. So that is what it is. But Jordan Love obviously is the guy. 32 touchdowns, 11 picks, 7.2 yards per attempt, 96 passer rating. Having a terrific year. They spread the ball around, man. But I'm like you. Aaron Jones had 142 carries, 656 yards. Dillon had 178 for 613. So they can mix it up a little bit. But Aaron Jones is the guy. And he's the guy you got to control. And I think since he got back from that hamstring, I think he has more yards rushing than anybody else. And it's imperative. And I was talking to a couple guys yesterday on defense about what they have to do. And each one of them said, exactly what you said, which is we got to stop the run. Aaron Jones, last 3 games, 21 for 127 against Carolina, 20 for 120 against Minnesota, 22 for 111 against Chicago. And so I was asking, this one guy said they got an eye candy running game or they got a basic running game. Basically the difference between San Francisco and Detroit. And he told me there's not a lot of eye candy in there, but they're really good at what they do schematically. And if you're not on it, they can gas you with it. And so he said just what you said, Doug. He was like, we got to come out flying around, man, and stop that run. Because if we let them be one-dimensional, it's just going to be a long day. It's going to be a hard day if we let them get the run game and the pass game going. Aaron Jones had hurt us in the past, and so we got to be on his ass. That's what he told me. I said, I feel you on that, dog. So I think we've seen when Dallas shows up with a concerted effort to stop the run because they know, aside from San Francisco, okay, because they know that that's the key to the game, especially with Jonathan Hankins back. I think they'll play well. And as we discussed, man, this is a game where you got to start fast and see if you can put them in that one-dimensional category. And then let's see what the young fella does when pressure's on him and he has to perform at a high level. Because again, man, this is his first playoff game, and so to me, I use this example quite a bit. The beauty of Troy Aikman to me was you would have to. San Francisco is the only game you ever remember him starting slow in the playoffs. He usually started fast, played well right out the box. Can flip that with, and I'm going old school now. I remember Brett Favre usually playing very poorly in the first quarter, having to settle down. Yes. And once he settled down, he finna bust your ass.
He finna throw 3 picks in the first half. He gonna throw 3 picks in the first half. And he gonna throw 5 touchdowns in the second half.
Exactly.
And Brett was notorious for that. And if you can survive that second half onslaught, it's all good. But man, he was incredible like that.
And so my point of that is Green Bay has outscored its opponents 78-65 in the first quarter. They've been outscored 104-91 in the second quarter. Now compare that, that's basically, they're basically going even with their opponents. Compare that with your Cowboys, who've outscored their opponents 129-56 in the first quarter. Cowboys notoriously start fast. Cowboys have outscored their opponents 167-116 in the second quarter. Cowboys start fast, especially at the crib. There's no reason for them not to get off to a fast start this game and really put that pressure on Green Bay to hang tight and try to stay in the game. And if they could do that, I think they have a great chance to go ahead, dictate the game, and win it. And don't forget, man, Cowboys at home this year have been special. 30-10 over the Jets, 38-3 over New England, 43-20 over the Rams, 49-17 over the Giants, 45-10 over the Commanders, 41-35 over Seattle, 33-13 over the Eagles, Detroit 20-19. Dog, they've been kicking ass, taking names at the crib. It's the playoffs. Everybody's good. I don't expect them to win by 30 or 20. But I do expect them to win. I don't expect them to be sweating it at the end. I think they win this game. The score that's sticking in my head is 34-20. That's what I got the Cowboys winning. I think it'll be a very good performance for them. They had problem in the divisional round. They had really no problems in the wild card round. And so I think your Cowboys roll 34-20. Kind of like my X factor. The guy I really like, man, is Donovan Wilson. I think he's a playmaker. I've been talking about him rounding in the form for about 4 or 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. He had a pick last week against the Lions. He played pretty good. I think he had a forced fumble or made a really big tackle for loss at the key juncture. He's a playmaker, man. Playoffs are built for playmakers. Let's see if he can get some this weekend. And if he does, I think the Cowboys roll.
Yeah, he's a thumper, and that leg injury is getting better, and that's what you're talking about the last 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah, he been around the ball. This is definitely a matchup problem for the Cowboys. They get past Green Bay, I think they got a chance to get the whole thing, because Green Bay, like I said, they not gonna give up on the run. You got to make them give up on the run. So
right.
This definitely going to be a matchup problem for them, because they got to have that running game for Jordan Love to get, to do what he need to do, because Green Bay got the kind of receivers that can get behind you, but it's got to all work off the play action.
You raised a good point, because one of the other guys I was talking to said, don't sleep on Green Bay's speed. Mm-hmm. He says, you don't know none of their receivers, but they can all run.
Number 9, Watson.
And, Christian Watson. And they go over the top. He said, so we got to be real careful about that. Make sure we read our keys, and we don't give them the big plays. Make them drive.
You got to almost be able to defend them with a light box, with 6 in the box. You almost got to be able to do that, because them guys can get deep. And Jordan Love got a strong arm. And all the things you said are true, which is why it's imperative to me that they start fast. Now, you can say that about every game, but it means more in some games than it does in others. This is one, to me, where you really, especially given the youth of their team, you just want to show, hey, playoffs is a different level. Look at this. Boom, 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 and you get a second-round knockout. I think that's what you're looking for, and so I think the Cowboys do it. I think they're a really good team. They've been blessed with an opportunity to get potentially 2 games at the crib. I think that they understand what a gift that is, because nobody saw the collapse that Philadelphia was going to have, and I think they take full advantage of it, at least this week, and then we'll see what happens with next week. But the Cowboys, I got them winning big, 34-20. I think that's what I said. And then we'll see. You got any last comments? No, I just think it's going to be a good game. I was sitting here thinking about how much of a weapon Brandon Aubrey is, because in games like this, you got to put something on the board every drive. It just reminds me of I don't remember the Dolphins kicker, but we slowed the Dolphins down. As soon as they crossed the 50, it was like, here that boy come with them old pesky ass field goals,
Yep.
And when you got 2, we got 1, okay, but when you got 4, I mean, that's the difference. Yeah. And so they, everything is leading to the Cowboys doing well. I just thought for some reason I was just thinking about Brandon Aubrey off the top.
I think that's a good point. I think that what should make you feel good is, and don't forget this, man, Cowboys. I think most people say Miami's got one of the most explosive offenses in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's worried about Miami's offense. Miami won the game. They scored 1 touchdown, though.
Yep.
They scored 1 touchdown. Tyreek did not go crazy. They kept him in check. He's Tyreek Hill. He going to make some plays. Mm-hmm. He caught 9 for 99, 14 targets. 1 catch of 20 yards was his long. They kept him in control. So what I'm saying is, if you can keep Miami's offense in control in Miami, as good as Green Bay is, you should be able to contain them enough to go in and win the game Sunday in Dallas.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they can, we saying the same thing over and over, but if they can just jump on top of the running game, I fear teams that the run game is part of their bread and butter.
Right.
I fear that, because they ain't gonna give up, because they're gonna keep doing what they do. But what I was saying about the Miami game and about Brandon Aubrey, you be like saying, hey, can we get a punt, please? No, this fool kicking the ball from 61, 59. Yeah. We stopping y'all, but y'all still getting points. And every time the Cowboys, every time they cross the 50, I'm going, oh, we in there.
Yeah, especially at AT&T Stadium where the conditions are perfect.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just him being an important weapon once you get to the playoffs. I mean, I know other fans are going, hell, okay, we at the 40. As soon as we within 50, as soon as we within 50, 55, yeah, we finna put some points up if they don't screw it up. But that's all I had, though.
All right. So we both got the Cowboys winning. We'll check back Sunday and see if our predictions are true. Remember, you can always follow me on Twitter at JJT Journalist. I am Jean-Jacques Taylor. We always appreciate our sponsors. Greening Law, can't do this without them. Smokey John's Barbecue. The book, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders and the Making of Men. You can find it wherever you find your books. BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Amazon.com. You want an autographed copy? You can email. You can send it to me, and I'll get it back to you. All of that's on the table. Until we chat again, for Big Joe and the Big Rig, you guys be blessed.